I thought I would do a video on the Bible and this video and a few other things that I've noticed that seem to be correlating with this video. This is the There Are No Forests on Flat Earth video, and I'll link it below. And it basically says that, all of these things we call mountains are actually tree stumps, and the mesas that you see are actually, here's Devil's Mountain. Devi means goddess in Hindu, in India at least. So Devi, goddess, Devil, mountain. And it looks like a tree stump. Here is the Giant's Causeway in, I think, Ireland, and it has these weird hexagonal things which correlate with plant parts. This is a piece of some kind of a fruit. Looks a bit like a pine cone. You can check that out at that guy's blog. And if you look at the causeway and the stem seeming parts, the hexagonal parts in the Devil's Tower, Devi's Tower, it looks exactly like the cross section of a plant, linseed. So basically it's saying that these things are not mountains. Here's a cross section of the fibers of Devil's Mountain, that maybe our land has been chopped down and carved up, and the Grand Canyon would actually be a big mining trench, and things like craters, of course, I already went over, may be mine holes. Now, what really shocked me about this is that before I even saw this video, I had done a video about the skull and bones, and in it I spoke about goddesses Sarah, the main original goddess. Some call wife of God, some call God, and I feel she was both of the Marys. Anyways, I did an expose on her, how she actually turns into a tree, or is a tree, or forms a tree. And I had talked about those passages that show her and her grove of trees being chopped down by a jealous patriarchal God. So I'm going to dive right into the Bible right now and read the passages that actually show that it is in the Bible that there was a gigantic goddess tree, and she did get chopped down by a patriarchal male god, whatever you want to call that. I don't necessarily believe in aliens coming from space yet, until space can be proven, but I know some people think that. Whatever it is, or other worlds on a flat earth, an infinite flat earth, I don't know, but let's just read the Bible and see where it correlates. Okay, this is from a rich dude named Nebuchadnezzar, at home in a palace, contented and rich. These are the visions I saw while lying in bed. I looked, and there before me stood a tree in the middle of the land. Its height was enormous. Do you see it says middle of the land, meaning the middle of Earth, the North Pole. The tree grew large and strong, and its top touched the sky. It was visible to the ends of the earth. Not globe Earth, he mentions flat Earth here. There were ends in his opinion. Its leaves were beautiful, its fruit abundant, and on it was food for all. Under it the wild animals found shelter, and the birds lived in its branches. From it every creature was fed. That's how big this tree was. Every single creature on earth ate from it. In the visions I saw while lying in bed, I looked, and there before me was a holy one, a messenger, coming down from heaven. A holy messenger means an angel, could be an alien, whatever you want to call it. He called in a loud voice, "Cut down the tree and trim off its branches, strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the animals flee from under it and the birds from its branches." Now in this version, it does not talk about the jealous God, which I will mention in the next passage in the Bible, which does mention that. This one sounds almost more like something came from the sky and cut down our potentially real goddess tree, just like in the movie Avatar, which I will get to in just a minute. So here in Ezekiel, it starts up again. Consider Assyria, once a cedar, which is a tree, in Lebanon, with beautiful branches overshadowing the forest. It towered on high, its top above the thick foliage. So this one goddess tree, or made by the goddess tree, was giant. The waters nourished it. Deep springs made it grow tall. Their streams flowed all around its base and sent their channels to all the trees of the field, which was her field of goddess trees. So it towered higher than all the trees of the field. Its boughs increased, and its branches grew long, spreading because of abundant waters, which I believe is the waters below. All of the birds of the sky nested in its boughs. All of the animals of the wild gave birth under its branches. All of the great nations lived in its shade. That's how big it was. Every single human on earth lived underneath it. It covered the entire earth and all the animals. It was majestic in beauty with its spreading boughs, for its roots went down to, again, the abundant waters below. Boughs means branches. The cedars in the garden of God could not rival it, nor could the junipers equal its boughs, nor could the trees compare with its branches. No tree in the garden of God could match its beauty, meaning God's garden was not as good as the goddess's garden, and the goddess is clearly here in the Bible shown to be greater and more powerful than God in the original, in the beginning. I made it beautiful with abundant branches, the envy of all the trees of Eden in the garden of God. I believe this is goddess speaking. I believe she's the one saying, because God was jealous of the tree, I don't think he made it. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says: because the great cedar towered over the thick foliage, and because it was proud of its height, then I was jealous of it, and an angry God of this tree that goddess has created. I gave it into the hands of the ruler of the nations for him to deal with according to its wickedness. I cast it aside. In other words, whatever this God figure is, whoever is ruling right now, gives it to a human to take down and chop down. And the most ruthless of foreign nations, meaning humans, cut it down and left it. Its boughs fell on the mountains and in all of the valleys, which shows how giant it is, that its branches fall into valleys and mountains. Its branches lay broken on the ravines of the land. All the nations of earth came out from under its shade. All of the birds settled on the fallen tree, and all of the wild animals lived among its branches. So you can see it was giant, it was better than God's, and it got chopped down by humans. Therefore, no other trees by the waters are ever to reign proudly on high. Blah, blah, blah. It goes into how, it's just going to be considered evil now and bad, and how Lebanon will be now clothed in gloom, and all the trees of the field withered away, and we're going to basically live in hell now. I made the nations tremble at the sound of its fall when I brought it down to the realm of the dead. Then all the trees of Eden, the choicest and best of Lebanon, the well-watered trees, they all fall into the earth and get crushed. They too, like the great cedar, had gone down to the realm of the dead for those killed by the sword, along with the armed men who lived among its shade. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so basically it's saying that, the Lord got jealous. Anything that's associated with this goddess tree is going to be brought down. And, who even knows who this God was? Especially when we're talking like ancient alien theories and stuff like that. Before I get into the next part of this video, I just want to show you some nuke pictures. Somebody had mentioned that the nuclear blasts look like trees, and you know what? They do. I'm not here to argue the existence of nukes. I have already seen the CGI on nukes, and yes, I do believe nukes may be fake, especially after having seen the radiation not harm anyone, with the guy that was eating uranium and all that. But I do believe that whatever weapon vaporized the Trade Center, that one's real. So there are big weapons out there. Nukes, maybe not, but just look at these nukes. They look like big trees. Look at that one. It looks like it's coming right out of the earth, just like it described in the Bible. And just like you can see on a lot of visuals of flat earth. And the rings appear to be holding up different levels of earths. I don't know. Maybe there are different, or were different worlds that the branches held up. Alright, so let's get into the flat earth stuff. So I started noticing that a lot of the flat earth depictions had a giant tree coming right out of the middle, like out of the North Pole, just like it says in the Bible. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh. What if, just putting this all together, what if there was a giant tree in the middle of Earth in the North Pole, and it was a paradise like they say, and it did feed us all, which kind of correlates with a lot of my theories that maybe something horrible happened here and everything had nothing to eat and started attacking each other and eating each other in desperation and abuse instead of eating from something like this tree. Well, it all started snapping in my mind. I don't know. You can say it's a bunch of coincidences, but I'm presenting it here as a possibility. What if we went to the North Pole and we were able to find a giant stump under the water? And then suddenly Christmas came into my head. Christmas.
Okay, so now we have the Bible saying that we used to have a giant forest with one particular giant tree in the middle of Earth that was chopped down, the middle of Earth being the North Pole in the flat Earth scenario. And we have what looks like stumps. You know, the mesas look like stumps. And we have mountains that look like tree stumps and things like that from the forest video. And then we have Christmas. Christmas, what do we do at Christmas? We go out and we chop down trees. And I suddenly wondered, is it possible that Christmas is actually the telling or the recreation ceremony of the time when the Earth's big forests were all chopped down, and a recreation of the goddess tree being chopped down and felled, so that this is a recreation of her fall and the start of hell? Hell is actually the name for her womb, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Now, what if, this was a recreation of that event and we just merrily go along with it? The fact of the matter is, I have already correlated Goddess Sarah with Jesus, and therefore the goddess tree would be Christ. And so it would be sort of a nasty reversal of the situation to call it the birth of Christ. Unless you believe, like in the Bible, it says the beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. And then I had this sudden thought, holy crap, where is Christmas centered? Well, it's centered at the North Pole. Just like it says in the Bible, the goddess tree was located in the center of the middle of the world, which would be, on flat earth map, would be the North Pole. So now we have these stories of a giant tree and forest being chopped down, the biggest one centered in the middle of Earth, the North Pole, and we've got this tree chopping ceremony called Christmas, which is centered at the North Pole. Coincidence? I'm not so sure about that. I think it may be that we are getting taught to recreate a ceremony of exactly what it looks like happened with our eyes and what the mesas actually really look like. So I've become very curious as to what actually is at the North Pole. Which, by the way, if you think that the North Pole is a giant ice shelf, you're wrong. All of those stories about the global warming, a lot of those people still think that a big iceberg exists out there. No. It's either melted or the Mandela effect took it, or it was never there at all. I don't know which one, but now it is being called a shifting sea of, little bits of ice, kind of like ice cubes in a glass. There is no more North Pole. So if you're waiting for catastrophe to happen because the North Pole is going to melt, it's already happened. There's no catastrophe coming. The oceans did not rise, the currents did not desalinate, and nobody got flooded from the North Pole melting that I'm aware of, unless that could explain some of the maps changing, but I'm not aware of any cities being destroyed or people dying from this. So, and then the other thing is that they keep saying that the pole is moving, it's wandering around, it's wandered a total of 685 miles, in the last 150 years. So you can pretty much just never find this mythical North Pole, which makes it even more suspicious in my eyes that this pole is just wandering all over the place and shifting everywhere. Well, that would do a lot of explaining why, if you're going to go visit the North Pole, they could stop and say, oh, it's way over there, but it moves around a lot and you can never really reach it. So yeah, we're not going to take you all the way out there. Like, this is the approximate area that we come to represent the North Pole. So probably people may never actually be getting taken to the North Pole. I don't know if you've been to the North Pole. I would appreciate it if you put a comment below and let me know. And then the freakiest thing ever is the movie Avatar seems to depict everything I'm talking about. It's got these giant blue natives, which we hear rumors about giant skeletons being found everywhere. I don't know if it's true or not, but we do see pictures of that and hear rumors of it. We clearly have giants outlined in the Bible, And in the movie Avatar, we have these giant blue natives who have a goddess tree system. The goddess tree is so large, her roots actually contain all the computer information. I believe they're made of silicone. I don't remember. I was a little bit stoned when I watched that movie, so I'd have to watch it again, and it was a long time ago. But I do remember that the invaders were actually humans. So what is that movie telling us? Is it telling us that we're the invaders here? Were there blue natives here, and us humans came and chopped everything down? I don't know. Or are we the natives here, and we have just been induced to think that our ecosystem is just fragile and horrible for us, and scarcity is the thing that exists to control us? I don't know exactly what I'm looking at here, but everything seems to fit. I mean, in the movie Avatar, the main goal is chop down this one giant tree. You know, just get rid of it so they can mine the planet, take all the resources, do whatever they want to the natives. And in India, we have the fact that all of their gods and goddesses are, not all of them, but a lot of them are depicted with blue skin, just like the movie Avatar. I mean, is it crazy to think that there could be other pigments in our skin? Why not? We have, you know, other animals that have lots of different pigments. I'm not sure. I'm just posting this for thought. It's very weird to me that the Bible correlates with the film There Are No Forests on Flat Earth. The movie Avatar correlates with it, and the ceremony of Christmas correlates with it. So, what do you think?